A warm welcome to those attending, and details of the business to be considered today are shown on the agenda, copies of which are available in the room. Please note that this meeting is being broadcast live. We are not expecting a fire drill, so if the fire alarm goes off, please follow officers to the fire exits and out of the building to the designated meeting points. Mobile phone and tablet devices. For those in the room, please switch off any mobile devices before the meeting starts, or please place them on silence. Please note that councillors on the committee may use their laptops or tablets during the meeting to view the agenda paperwork. Residents' feedback forms. For any visitors, and if you are so minded, can you please complete one of the yellow residents' feedback forms? The information on these forms is intended to help us improve the way that we run our meetings, and forms can be completed and left in this room for collection after the meeting, or completed and returned by post to the address on the form. Declarations of interest, finally. Please ensure that you identify which item you have an interest in and state whether your interest is pecuniary or non-pecuniary, and give the reasons that you have an interest. Members need not to declare an interest in any item on the agenda where they have already listed this interest on the Register of Interests. Furthermore, you do not need to declare an interest just because you are, for example, a ward councillor. Thank you very much. Welcome to the meeting today. Just to say, we do have one of our apprentices with us today, so welcome. It's good to see you, and he will be staying throughout the meeting with us. I hope that's okay with everyone. Yeah? Super. So just before we go through into the meeting, we'll have introductions. I'm the chair, and my name is Councillor Becky Hagger. Good to meet you, and I will go through on my right.
And I'm Baines, legal representative today.
Councillor Rita Chamdow. Councillor Janet Gardner.
Peter Singh Chopra.
Mr. Panchal representing Peter Singh Chopra today.
Anisha Teji, Democratic Services.
Thank you. The mics are a bit temperamental this morning, aren't they, for Monday morning? So must make sure we press down on the button. Do we have any apologies for absence?
Councillor Chamdow will be sitting in place of Councillor Davis.
Thank you very much. And declarations of interest? Any declarations of interest? No? Thank you very much. Just to confirm that all items at the moment are in part 1 and will be considered in public. So today the licence hearing is application for the grant of premises licence for Daman Food and Wine, 6 Dawley Road, Dawley Road, Hayes. And we will start off with an introduction from our regulatory officer, Austin Young. Thank you, Austin. Thank you very much. Just to confirm, we've obviously had no members' inquiries, nothing from highways, nothing from any other regulating officers. Thank you very much for confirming that. Councillors, do you have anything you would like to confirm within the report? Councillor Gardner.
This used to be my ward up until very recently. There aren't any car parks around there. I'm quite familiar with the area. There's, so the Deleague Close one is private, and the one behind Margaret Ramadan House at the corner of Prince's Park Lane is also private. So I'm not quite sure what the car parking problem is. Were there any objections from the were any comments from the police?
There no were objections from the police.
Thank you. Did you just want to confirm the car park? Is that possible? Because I know you had a question regarding the car park, Councillor Gardner. You wasn't sure whether there was a Hillingdon Borough car park, public car park.
No, there isn't, is there, at all? I mean, I'd say I know the area incredibly well.
Having visited the site, yes. So there's the private Deleague Close, private parking for Deleague Close residents. Then outside of that, there's the parking bays down Deleague Close. Immediately in front of the premises, there is pay and display parking. There's the private yard identified down the side of 7, Dawley Parade, and that is privately owned. And then all the way around the corner, around the back, that's where Margaret Ramadan House is. It's not clear if that's the car park they mean, but again, that's also parking for Margaret Ramadan House, so the flat users of there. So in terms of car parking, it's unclear to me, as you suggested, what that would be, but yeah, there are 3 private yards around there which could be used for car parking.
Thank you very much for confirming that. We now go on to the applicant and the licence holder. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. I'm going to be brief and straightforward because we only have one objector now left. We did get in touch with the objector in saying to them how robustly the 4 licensing objectives are going to be promoted. I'm going to stress on to how robustly the 4 licensing objectives are going to be promoted, and I'm also going to put you through what experience my client has, because that is one very necessary for him to run the premises. For his experience, in the year 2021, he was working at Pound Plus store in Liverpool for 8 months. He then came to London and joined Northall off license. He worked there for another 6 months, getting the experience, after which he then joined Discount Food and Wine in Hillingdon. So that's in our borough, in the Hillingdon borough, for 1.5 years. So he had a tremendous experience in selling alcohol and understands the 4 licensing objectives. He now got the opportunity of getting this shop, which is called Daman Food and Wine, which will be his own venture, run by his own family and his wife and himself. So that's the experience of the client. He has obtained his personal license about 1.5 years ago, so he does hold that personal license to become the DPS and understand the 4 licensing objectives. Now coming back to the premises, this premises had a license before. I don't know whether Austin had to mention there was a license before at the premises.
That is covered in the report, yes. Yeah. There was a license before, but it was surrendered.
It was surrendered. It wasn't revoked, or there was not a problem. And I understand from the client that it was surrendered because he could not, the lease was completed and he left the premises, the previous owners. Ma'am, looking at the objector, which if you refer to Appendix 3 on your page. Most of his concerns are under the guidance 14.19 need. And need is nothing, I read need in the guidance. It says there can be confusion about the difference between the need for premises and the cumulative impact of premises on the licensing objectives. For example, on crime and disorder, need concerns the commercial demand for another pub or restaurant or hotel and is a matter for the planning authority and for the market. This is not a matter for a licensing authority in discharging its licensing functions or for its statement of licensing policy. The reason I'm stressing onto 14.19 because we've just been discussing about the parking matter, and the parking matter is for the planning and nothing to do with the with this committee or when we're discussing. So hence, leaving the parking aside, which we had a bit of a discussion of what would happen at the parking, to avoid the public nuisance, I'm going to go through. There will be a training manual at the premises, and all staff employed by Mr. Singh will be fully trained, and the training will be logged into the training manual. There will be a CCTV at the premises, a sign put up for the CCTV. The CCTV will be recording for 31 days. Ma'am, it will be much easier if you go back to your bundle onto page 5, which describes onto our operating schedule of how the full licensing will be promoted. And there is a condition about the CCTV, which will be, as I said, 31 days. All the staff will be trained when a recording of the CCTV is required by any responsible authority. So that will be placed there. Regarding the public nuisance that we are talking about, public nuisance prior to me saying about the public safety, there will be a board put up, please live quietly, consider our neighbors. There will be, regarding the waste collection, there will be a contract with the council or the private contract picking up the waste on a regular basis. Regarding public safety, there will be fire extinguishers, there will be fire exit signs, as mentioned into our operating schedule. Now, coming back to the main issue, which is very important, children from harm. There will be a Challenge 25 policy in place. Under the Challenge 25, there will be ID shown. There will be a refusal book which will record all the refusals asked at the premises, and there will also be an incident book where the incidents would be recorded if there are any incidents around there. Apart from that, there will be a Section 57 Licensing Act which will mention who, when the DPS is not present, who shall be in charge under the Section 57 notice, authorizing the staff to sell alcohol. And there will also be an authorization list sections of the staff trained in. So, ma'am, you can see how robustly the 4 licensing objectives are going to be promoted at the premises. Ma'am, that's why we feel that this license be granted today. And we are happy to take any questions from the committee and the councillors.
Thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions? Councillors, Councillor Shandell and then Councillor Gardner. Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you, Chair. I've got 2 questions. One is, thank you very much for explaining that the applicant understands the licensing objectives. I'd like to hear from the applicant himself if he can tell us what his understandings of the 4 objectives are. And secondly, I want to know how many staff will be employed there as well, and will they be over 18?
all staff employed will be over 18 at the premises. So there will be no staff under 18 employed at the premises.
Sorry. Chair, thank you. How many?
Presently, it's him, his wife, and there's one more staff that is going to be employed. The shop is still being refurbished at the moment. I'm going to be asking you that his English is not as good as required, and he's already nervous since this morning, but I'm going to ask him to speak as much as he can, but he understands the 4 licensing objectives.
Is 25 is the objection is customer is come, our call is ID check must. On first is photo check. On CCTV camera, on floor cleaning is board signboard, all this.
Thank you. Councillor Chandler?
Sorry, Chair. Can you explain the 4 objectives and his understanding? I know he's unchallenged 25, but there obviously there are 4 principles. So can you explain those, please, just in a bit more detail, so we understand, he understands?
Okay. It's first customer is come 25 is check is ID must 18 plus. Then is our call on the web. On the second is this one is CCTV camera is public safety. On public safety is public safety is floor clearing in the floor sign.
Just to clarify just quickly, nothing you've done at all, so don't worry, but this will probably be more in the discussion. We've just been advised legally that this will come out further in discussion, so more of a discussion. So what we want is questions. Thank you, Shandell. So Councillor Shandell for the question. We're going to move on. Is there any other questions? Just to make it clear, we're just really confirming what the applicant is saying. So if there's anything that we need to really look into the report and we're asking questions, just clarify the report. So about clarification. Thank you. Councillor Gardner, is yours clarification? Thank you very much. Thank you for that comprehensive report, and we will be discussing in a minute some of the items on the report, I'm sure. Just to move on, we do have, obviously the resident isn't present, but we do have an email from the residents. I will read it out. Dear Council, I am writing to formally object to the opening of a new off-licence store in the premises below my residence. There is already an existing store in the area which has significantly increased the traffic, noise and a lot of fights for the car park. Adding another off-licence would not only exacerbate these issues but also provide little to no benefit to the community given the current availability of similar services. I believe that this addition would negatively impact the quality of life in the neighbourhood. Thanks you for considering my concerns. So the resident isn't obviously here to ask questions, but we can on his behalf, and we'll do that in the discussion. Yeah. So obviously we can see and understand the area a little bit more. So we do not have any other parties, so we can go straight into the discussion now, which is where we can probably address some of the issues, Councillor Shandell and Councillor Gardiner. So who would like to ask first? Thank you, Councillor Shandell.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, so if we can just recap Mr. Chopper's understanding of what the licensing principles are.
Chairman, I can discuss that. What Mr. Chopra is actually saying about the 4 licensing objectives is correct. Of what he's saying, that he will be following the children from harm was one of them that he was discussing, to say that I will, without an ID, I'm not going to sell any alcohol, which is very important and which is very positive in promoting the licensing objectives. His second view was to say that there will be there will be a fire exit or fire extinguishers kept. That is what that there will be no places left in the sense. That is again a public safety that he is mentioning about. So he does understand the licensing. The CCTV comes under the crime and disorder, the promotion of crime and disorder, which is one of the objectives of the licensing objective. And that is exactly what he's discussed. So my view is that he has put forward that these are the 4 licensing objectives and how I'm going to be promoting them. I understand the councillor's view is that is he going to label out and say prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, public nuisance, and children from harm. Those are the 4 licensing objectives. But he's already discussed and said how the licensing objectives are going to be promoted, indirectly rather than directly. I hope you understand what I'm saying.
Can I just add as well, perhaps it would have been more answered better by the applicant if there had been a translator in attendance to fully translate the question to the applicant and for it to be relayed back. Given that we don't have that service today, I think we should take on course the representative's basis of the appeal, if that's okay.
Yeah. Thank you for clarifying that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have another question?
Not at the moment, Chair, thank you.
Councillor Gardner.
As I said before, I know this area very well. I actually live in Dawley Road myself. There have been complaints. I put in complaints over, well, obviously not in the last couple of years because I haven't been a councillor for that, but the previous premises, there was a lot of antisocial behaviour outside. There are still youths hanging about at night asking people to go in and buy alcohol for them. I'm aware of that because I live relatively near. And that's why I asked basically if the police had put any complaints in, because I always copied the police in because it's not a council issue. I mean, the antisocial behaviour is, but youngsters asking people to buy alcohol for them. And what also worries me is that the complaint or the request for not allowing this is coming from a resident who lives above the premises. I just worry about the noise that already there's quite a lot of noise generated in the street, and at night as well. I mean, if I lived there, I'd be pretty cheesed off. But I just wonder, has the applicant made any representation to the person who lives above the premises? Has he assured them that he will keep things? I mean, has he been up there and mentioned, for example, that he knows what the 4 licensing objectives are and what he's going to do to make sure they're maintained?
Yes, as soon as we received, we as agents, when we applied for it, as soon as we received the objections, we made sure that the applicant and the objectors, both of them, not one, both of them, were aware, and we had a dialogue with both of them. And hence, you could hear now that one of them has withdrawn the objection. The other one was about to withdraw the objection when we spoke with him that how carefully and how robustly the licensing objectives are going to be promoted. And we were expecting that the second one would also withdraw. But we're still here with whether he is understood or not. But an approach is already made, and we are making sure that the 4 licensing objectives are robustly going to be promoted.
Thank you, Councillor Gardner. I just have a few questions, if that's okay. I was just conscious that when we were talking about the shop that was there before, there were some issues, I think you said, around the area. You might not know, but do you know what they were? Do you know if there was any particular antisocial behaviour when the shop was there? Only because I picked up, because you did say there was trouble in that shop before.
Ma'am, there wasn't any trouble as far as we were concerned. That is one of the reasons my client approached and bought the shop. The only reason the previous owner left the shop was his lease had expired, and the landlord was asking for extra rent, which the previous owner thought was not viable, and hence he left the premises and surrendered the license. My client had agreed the increase that the landlord was asking for, and that is why he's gone ahead with the business. We did get in touch with the licensing to see if that license was still valid, but the time had already lapsed. The surrender is normally 28 days if you want to re-get the license back, but then again that time had already lapsed. So we had to put a new application in.
Yeah, thank you for confirming that and being clear around that. The other area, I know Councillor Shandell did ask this, how many staff are going to be there at one time, or how many staff are actually there. And just to confirm, you said there was 2 staff, obviously yourself and your wife, and maybe another employee.
Yeah.
How many would you have on the premises at each time? Are you looking to have 2 members of staff on the premises?
Our advice, as a firm, our advice has already been put forward to him that after 7 o'clock or after 6 o'clock every day, there will be 2 staffs present on the premises. And if you would like to put that as a condition, we are happy to have that, because it is necessary going to be 12 o'clock, so there will always be 2 staff. It will be either him and the staff or the wife and the staff.
Yes, thank you, and I think it's really important because, you know, I completely agree. We're looking at safety of staff here as well, and especially if your wife's in there on her own. I'm just a little bit concerned, well, anyone, but...
yes, we were also, we did advise that.
Yeah, and it's really important we cover that. And sorry, just one more question about the plan that we have with the cameras. I may have missed it, so I do apologise if I have. But are there any cameras facing the outside of the premises, you know, by the door? I just noticed all the cameras are inside, looking inside the premises. Is there one sort of outside so you can see who's coming in by the door? Yeah. That was all, just in case there are any issues.
Solar camera.
I'll just take one.
Yeah, no worries.
बाहर एक कैमरा रख देंगे
2 लगे बाहर 2 बाहर एक बैक साइड 3 और बाकी.
Sorry, ma'am. Although it's not in the plan, but I've got a confirmation that he's already got 2 in the front and 1 at the back, which is not in the plan. It's already there.
16 cameras.
There are 16 cameras
16
altogether.
That's really good. And again, it's really about safety for you as well as you know, your customers too. So we can confirm. Just to confirm what you've just said, there are actually 2 cameras already there on the outside, and there's actually 1 camera at the back as well.
At the back as well, yeah.
Good.
Which is not in the plan, but it's already there.
That's good. And just picking up again, really the residents' concerns that we have around increase for public nuisance, really. So increase around noise, preventing the noise. Is there anything you can do to help support that? And if you could just explain a little bit about, you know, how you control people. So I think one of the things we see is a lot of people hanging around, don't we? You know, outside. So you've got about 5 people hanging around. They're making a noise. They're in that area. Is there anything or any in your experience that you've had? Because again, you've had quite a bit of experience, I see, which is really good. So I'm really pleased with that.
Thank you.
But is there anything that you found really works? You know, to disperse people? What would you do? So if you could just explain to me the procedure really of how you would help with that, with the public nuisance. Because I think that's really the main thing here is, as you said, the parking can't really address the public nuisance, definitely. Thank you.
We've suggested to our client to undergo a conflict management course, which is again free of charge online. So we've suggested, and we're going to be dealing with it, a conflict management course. which will help him to disperse off if any people were drinking outside the shop or that. But they'll definitely be saying to people, do not drink, you can go away. And I'm sure I'm advising most of the people in the Dowley area to go back when there is a licensing policy meeting again or renewal, to put the PSPO on the area, which will help everybody. Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Thank you. Councillors, do you have any other questions? Yes, of course, Shanda. Councillor Shanda.
Thank you, Chair. Just going back to something Councillor Gardner mentioned, that previously there's been issues where people have asked other people to come in and buy alcohol on someone else's behalf. How would the applicant then deal with that scenario?
Again, we've said to him, it's called a proxy sale, and it is part of the course that we run when we do the PLH level 2. And our view to the clients who go through the personal license course with us, that proxy sale, if you see a proxy sale, stop selling alcohol to that person when he next visits you. So that's one of the criteria we have. We give them the book, and we teach people in 5 different languages along with English, and that is why they understand what proxy sale is.
Thank you. Yes, Councillor Gardner.
A couple of concerns about conflict management. We can all do conflict management. Sometimes it doesn't work. If there's a CCTV trained on the outside on the pavement area, and you've only got 2 staff in the shop, okay, now, if they don't notice that there's people outside saying, will you go and buy me alcohol, how can they know that it's a proxy sale? I mean, that is one of the problems that we have. It's not here particularly, it's in the whole area. I just wonder, if you've only got 2 staff in, one of them could be on the loo, or they could be up by the fridge or whatever, and not actually see what's going on. And that's what concerns me, because if somebody under 18 gets drink, they can then go to the park, which you know is just literally over the road. You know, well, both actually, Stockley Park and the Lake Farm Park. And I just wonder how, I mean, I personally don't think 2 staff are enough for that particular area, because you've got another premises that sells alcohol. You've got eateries there as well, haven't you, along that stretch of road? But I just wonder how you can cope with all that. I just want to give you something to think about.
Although discussing going back through the Licensing Act and knowing it from last 20 years of my experience, it's sometimes very difficult when you say, is a person drunk or not? Someone would say he's drunk, somebody would say he's not drunk. He may not stir even if he's drunk, because the idea of noting how the person is. I'm just comparing what you're saying and comparing with the... Yeah.
I wasn't talking about drunk people asking a normal person to go and buy a drink. I was asking about underage people hanging about outside asking a person like me, for example, or my partner, could you go in and buy this for me? It's not recognising. I mean, most of us know what a drunk is, whether they're happy or miserable. It was about them, the proxy, going in to buy alcohol for a young person. That is my biggest concern.
You know, I totally agree with what you're saying. I'm giving you an example how it's difficult to compare a drunk person, and how it's difficult sometimes in the initial first stage to see a proxy sale, because you would only work out if it's a proxy sale from looking at the CCTV, which is outside, going through to see once the person has bought the alcohol, he goes out and he gives it to the underage person, and when you watch your CCTV, and then you look at it and say, this person has sold it outside, so next time when he comes in, I'm not going to sell it to him again. Or if he repeats again, then it would be something. So that's how shopkeepers normally will have to go through and look at the CCTV. Hence, he's got 2 cameras outside. He's got one behind also, which would help him to look at the cameras and say, he's sold, he's given it to the child who was under 18. So that would be his first concern, and to look into how this concern could be looked into regarding the proxy sale.
I can see what Councillor Gardner is saying.
I can understand very much so.
I was just wondering, actually, just to add on, if you don't mind, I was just thinking about, is there any, or will you be working with the other shops? Because taking on board what Councillor Gardner said as well, I presume, I mean, I know you don't have to, but I would presume that they would have gone to one shop, come away, gone to the next shop, come away. Is there any possibility that you could work with the other two shops that are nearby, just to gain an idea of who it might be? And I think that that would really help. I know there's no obligation to do that, but I'm just
they do have. The shop next also is part of the same community people, and they know each other very well. So they have been talking, and hence that is why we discussed with Bhajan Singh, who is also the owner of the shop next to one of the complainants, and they've discussed together. So they will be working together along with that shopkeeper. Definitely, they'll be working together.
I think if we could have the whole parade, well, not the whole parade, but definitely the shops that are within, I know it's difficult to get people to comply, but I think that would be really beneficial all the way around. Yeah.
It is the Dolly Superfoods Limited cost cutter, which is
that's right. The three licensing. Well, yours will be the third, but the other two licensing plus yourself. If you could get together and meet up, I think that would be very, very beneficial. And I think that might. I don't say it will go the whole way, but it might go part way to helping the issue of underage.
And my view is the PSPO is another very good thing to promote, to not have the proxy sales, because PSPO will not allow anybody to drink in front of the shop or drink in the area, because that will be the duty of the police to take it away from them. And once there's a sign up PSPO, people have to follow that. That helps again.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions? Councillor Gardner? Sorry, I just see something you might be going to. Councillor Gardner?
The PSPOs are terrific if there are enough police on the streets. So if they can't respond to emails, then I'm sure they can't respond to that. But my thing with the CCTV is, if you've got the shop at the top of the shop where people can actually, is there any way that you can actually look at the CCTV? I know for a fact that if you're in a shop and you've got, well, they're young adults, I mean, they're under 18, but if they're making a nuisance of themselves, you know they're there because you can hear them. So then you can look at your CCTV and you can then see whether they are hassling customers coming into the shop. That stops it before you have to look at the CCTV 3 or 4 hours later. I mean, that is my concern, and that's the part of the objective, which is preventing children from harm, basically, because under 18, technically, they're still children. Although they behave like oafs, but nevertheless, they're still children.
The other thing we would suggest to the client, I can see your concerns, and it will definitely be put forward to the client, and we'll definitely discuss about it and make sure it is looked into. The best thing for us to advise him is to watch the CCTV once the sale is carried out, because you could then see on the CCTV person moving out. That could be another thing. I'm sure you wouldn't have 50 people lined up on the till in a shop like this. So it will be easier for one of the staffs to have a look at the CCTV, somebody buying and going out, and follow it up in the outside CCTV to see what he's done, whether he's given it to the child or not. And the children are, to be honest, Councillor, they are very clever. They will not stand in front of the shop trying to get their drinks. It's there. We all try, and we make sure we come to the conclusion that the children are not given alcohol, are not sold. But that will be a main priority to make sure it doesn't happen.
Yeah, Councillor Shanda.
Thank you, Chair. Just coming on from what we've just discussed and Councillor Garden said, and you're saying that you look at the CCT afterwards, but surely isn't prevention better than cure, that you should be looking at it first, not afterwards, because the event's happened and the damage has been done. So it's how can you stop it happening in the first place? And that comes back to where we were saying that, have you got sufficient staff to be able to be monitoring that camera, you know, especially after 7 o'clock. When you look at the picture of the parade, it's only a small parade, so, you know, there isn't a lot of space that the children, you know, if somebody wants to do that, there isn't a lot of space where they can hide because it'd be quite visible. So we're just looking for you to see if you can stop it happening in the first place, not afterwards.
I don't know how to put it up, but it's going to be difficult because the difficulty I'm looking at what you are saying to prevent it. Yes, we want to prevent it from happening, but we do not know initially till the person buys it and gives it to the children that it has happened. Because the person who's come to buy the alcohol, he's over 18, he's allowed to buy the alcohol, he takes it out. Only if we see that he's given it to the child, that could be a proxy sale. But we do not know whether when he's coming in, whether he's been given a message by the child to say, can you get me an alcohol? Yes, if we was to see that, definitely he would say, sorry, I'm not selling you because you're going to give it to the child there. But to give it to the child would be the first evidence to say, yeah, he's given it to a child. When he comes in next time, I'm not going to sell him alcohol. That would be the criteria, but it'd be very, very difficult, honestly, in any shop to say that, well, I can stop it from the beginning. Because first of all, the shopkeeper must know that he's coming to buy for him, which I don't think anybody would know, unless and until we were present right there and they were talking and we've heard him say, go and buy my alcohol. Yes, I'm not going to sell it. Definitely, I'm not going to sell it. No shopkeeper will sell.
You say, I think what Councillor Shandell was saying, if that's okay, is that okay? Was that I know you said, which is really good, that you'll have 2 people in the shop,
yeah.
which is really good, and we take that on board. But I think what both councillors are saying really is that is 2 people enough? Should we really have 3? That way someone can be watching the CCTV, not being out. So I think in a nutshell, if we were to combine it all, would that be correct? That we're saying that actually, you know, is it possible to have 3 people on, one looking, you know, not looking at the CCTV all the time, but you're quite right. If someone does have to go out and have a comfort break, you've only got 1 person in the shop. You know, which again could be a liability and could be an issue all round. So I think what we're trying to say to you, or suggest to you, is there a possibility that 3 people could be in the shop most of the time?
Definitely, they'll have to look into that. Definitely, we will suggest that. We are happy to suggest that. Again, looking into the business, my point of view would be, I'm not saying his point of view, would be, it will again depend on how busy the shop becomes, and how busy, because today if you employ 3 people, there is salaries for 3 people, and if there was not sufficient sales or there was not sufficient people coming into the shop, it would be a disaster if there was a condition put up. But considering your suggestion, it definitely will be taken on board that during the busy period, if there are more people coming in, yes, we will have 3, and if we have to go to 4, yes, we'll have 4 if they were very busy. We understand from the survey carried out by my client, the Dowley Superfood is quite a busy shop, very, very busy shop. And that is why we're going to be looking into and see if we become busy or share the customers of Dowley, it will definitely have more staff employed.
I think the key word is peak times.
Peak time, that's right, correct, yeah.
That is the key
and that is
word.
why, hence, sorry, I did put down in my presentation that after 6, 7 o'clock in the evening, there will be 2 staffs, which we are happy to put the condition because we are saying, yep, after 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock, we'll have 2 staffs present at the premises, which would be a condition.
Thank you. Councillors, any further questions? Councillor Gardner.
I'm going to play devil's advocate here. If you've got somebody watching the outside of the building and they see youths talking to adults, and then the adult comes in, it's very easy, and I have actually done it myself, which is much to the annoyance of the particular shopkeeper, say, excuse me, are you actually buying alcohol for yourself or for the people outside? Because 9 times out of 10, they will say, no, we don't want it then. As though if you catch people out, that's how to do it. I mean, I've got a thing about alcohol and children, I really have. That's why I'm rattling on about it. But as I say, that could be some sort of conflict resolution, could it not? Just by saying, excuse me, are you buying that for yourself or for the young people that are outside?
I'm sure we'll take that on board, definitely. We'll definitely take that on board. I'll definitely take that on board, and he will also. He's got a child of 10 years old, and he doesn't want his child to be sold alcohol anytime. So he's definitely going to look into that make sure.
Any other questions? No? Okay. Thank you very much. We're just going to close in remarks. So Austin Young.
Sorry, there were just a few bits just to pick up there when I thought I would just jump in just to clarify. Mr. Panchal, obviously you've said that there'll be an insput which would include refusals. I think it might be worthwhile confirming to the councillors that those refusals are not just for underage sales, that's any refusal of alcohol. So if there was a concern that there was perhaps a proxy sale, it would be recorded as refused for concern over proxy sale.
Oh yes, they're definitely all refused. Even if it's not refused, we've advised our client to make sure that even if they ask for an ID, and if it's a genuine ID, put it down to say, yes, we asked for the ID, it was a genuine ID, and the sale was made. So that will also be recorded.
Also, I know that the PSPO was mentioned, so I was just looking at the PSPO. The PSPO for being caught with an open container is borough-wide. So that would include any public space. It wouldn't include the private land that we've already identified around the area, but any public spaces, that PSPO is already in place.
Thank you. Any closing remarks from the applicant?
Sorry, thank you, Chair. We've just had quite good discussion, so we're happy with that.
Thank you. Okay, I will close part 1 while we go into private discussion and we deliberate. Thank you very much.